Good day, welcome to Music Motors, welcome to the Tesla Model 3, the 2019 Tesla Model 3. Now this is a performance version, which means there's a few extra additional bits, but I'll get to that. So what is the Model 3? The Model 3 is the affordable electric car, because realistically base prices start at around £38,000 for a bottom end Model 3, and you still get about 250-260 mile range. Now everything is technologically advanced, and you do also have the option to option in self-driving. It's a £5,800 option, coming up to £6,000 option. But when everything is tested and the over-the-air updates come in, over an amount of time your car will become more and more intelligent to the extent it will pretty much drive itself. Currently we're at a stage where they'll change lanes for themselves, they can make progress by themselves within reason. But soon we're going to get to that point where junction to junction you do nothing except sit there and look pretty. Now aesthetically, the Model 3 has been made to fit in with that kind of the lower segments. It's made to fit in with the 3 Series and the C-Class, and you can see that. But Tesla have kept their aesthetics that they've had throughout the range. So there's design language that you're used to seeing in things like the Model S, the Model X, and you can see it very abruptly in the Model 3. That's not a bad thing. Now for me, I like how this car looks. I like the front end, it's quite bold. It's definitely different to the competition, but it's a Marmite look. Some people love it, some people hate it. I've had equal negative and positive impressions of the aesthetics of this car. The back end looks a little bit more Japanese design. Side profile, typically Tesla. You see it from the side, you know exactly what it is. The front end is just, it's like the rest of the range, but just slightly changed. It's really, really, really lovely. Now, being a performance pack, it's got 20-inch alloys, which look the part. I think they're 18-inch aero alloys you get on the long range and the standard. You know, it's not a bad wheel design, but for me, it's a little bit boring. These 20s look amazing. Now, on top of those 20-inch alloys, you also get slightly lower suspension. You get a carbon rear spoiler, and you get an increased top end. I believe it's well over 160 miles an hour. When we are talking performance, we are looking at this and saying, right, how quick does it get to 60? Well, that's 3.2 seconds. How is that possible? Well, it's got 444 brake horsepower in technical terms and 640 newton meters of torque, which means it's quick. There's no denying that. But being an electric and being a dual motor, because it's a performance, the second you touch the throttle, you go. Like instant. I think they said there was like not even a millionth of a millisecond response time. The second you touch it, you go. There's no spooling time, there's no waiting for anything to react. It goes there. And I suppose that's the perk of an electric car versus an internal combustion engine. When you drive the Model 3, you don't feel like you're driving an electric car. Through the years, I've driven a multitude of electric cars and only 1 or 2 Teslas before. And for instance, the Model S feels a bit more cumbersome than this does. This feels like a very nimble M3-esque, and in fact, I dare say around the track it'd probably walk all over an M3. The type of driving characteristic, it just holds and hugs. Being a dual motor, you could use it all year round, because even in the snow, well, you might have to put a sloppier throttle response in so you don't end up spinning your tyres constantly, because it's a lot of torque instantly. It's just totally usable. The second you want to overtake someone, you go. And the regen braking is extraordinarily good, to the extent that you barely ever have to use your own brakes. But if you do, well, it doesn't matter. The performance pack, for instance, has upgraded brakes. I mean, they're good as standard anyway, but if you need to stamp on these, you can really stamp on them and get them to stop. Steering input wise, it's really nice, and even though you're not, I guess, technically connected to the road, you feel absolutely in touch with the car. You feel everything that's going on. It doesn't feel like a totally alien system. It doesn't feel like you're disconnected from what's going on underneath you. You feel everything. Again, the brake pedal as well, that you feel everything that's going on. The only thing you don't get feedback from, which you wouldn't do in any new car anyway, is the throttle pedal, because to be fair, most of them are fly-by-wire now anyway. Interior wise is, I guess, it's the area that a lot of people are a little confused about. because there is literally one screen, one 15-inch touchscreen to do everything. And when I say everything, I mean it tells you how fast you're going, it turns your climate control on, it does your music, it shows you your maps, it controls your heated seats, it does everything. And in theory, it's such a cool idea because it means that the cabin feels so less cluttered. It feels like there's so much space. But in reality, it means that some things take a lot longer than they should. For instance, say a passenger wants to change a song that they're listening to, but at the same time you want to change the climate control or you want to change something else. You can only do one thing at a time, which means that realistically that's not going to be great fun, is it? You're going to be wanting to get on with something, you've got to wait for someone else to finish. Your rear seat passengers, well, they got heated seats, they can't control them back there, it's up to you to do it. You can also make their seat fart, but that's a toy box bit we'll get back to. Now this interior is finished in white. It's a bright white, and obviously it's not actually technically leather, but it is £1,000 option. Speaking of another option, deep sea metallic on the outside, £1,000 option. You can see why to make your ultimate Tesla, it costs a bit of money. The high fidelity sound system is up there among the best I've ever heard. It's second only to a Bowers & Wilkins system, the Volvos, but that's a £7,000-ish option. This comes with it. This is part of the luxury interior package you want. It comes with it. If you go for a lower end, like entry Model 3, you won't get that. You also won't get Spotify on here. If you go for the long range or you go for the performance like this is, you get everything, and I do mean it literally comes with everything. It's a very intelligent and easy to drive car. So aesthetically, I love how it looks. The front end is proud. It is very Tesla. It looks amazing. It's a bit Marmite for a lot of people, but I'm not going to complain massively about it because I get on with how it looks. I like it. The side profile is sleek and it's sporty, and it just looks like it spent its life in a wind tunnel making sure that it was as aerodynamically perfect as it could be. On the back end is that typical Tesla design language we know, we love, we see it across the range, it's there in abundance, and I love it. The interior is comfortable, very, very comfortable. Loads of headroom, massive panoramic sunroof. Your rear passengers get bundles of space, and I would say this, your rear passengers will get more space than in an M3. There's no joke, it can be a little bit cramped in the back of an M3. It's not in the back of this. Even in normal seating position for me, my rear passengers have bundles of space. And the boot space, I mean, I think they say it's 450 litres, but really, I mean, usability wise, it's definitely more because I fit so much stuff in the back. I fit more in the back of this. I know in my own Jaguar XF, now that's a whole class above. This is a huge boot. My only issue really with the interior segment of this car is a bit questionable because obviously they're not using leather. It looks more plasticky. It does. Even the seats have a kind of plastic vibe to them. Generally, I didn't hear any like shakes, any rattles or anything. But some of the quality is just slightly questionable. Now, I know as the production line goes along, it's going to get better. There's no question about that. It will definitely get better. But there's just a few bits that I look at now if I was to buy one. If I turned up to pick it up and it had those imperfections and you're paying, you know, £52,000 or £60,000 with options for a vehicle, you'd want it to be slightly better. But that's it from the inside point of view. Just a few niggly bits. The technology, the drive, the comfort, the quietness, the fun, the exhilaration is all up there. It's just these tiny little bits that hopefully in future productions, as they do more and more of these, they'll sort it out and it won't be there anymore. Just little things like certain fitments aren't quite there. Some of the qualities can be a little bit harsh in places. That is it. That's my only bugbear. Range anxiety doesn't really exist in a Model 3 because when you think about it, you've got a 348 mile range. Now that is more than enough. I mean, there's plenty of cars that I've driven that don't even get that are combustion engines because they've got big engines and small fuel tank. If you want to charge it up in half an hour, I think it's 170 miles in half an hour of supercharging. And when we're talking of supercharging, and this is the whole thing, this is what would sell me a Tesla over any other brand. A lot of other companies, Podpoint, Ecotricity, it's a good idea, but the infrastructure is limited, can be very slow, and in Ecotricity terms, it's very expensive. I believe they just released a statement to say they were going to be charging 39p per kilowatt hour. Tesla's 25p per kilowatt hour. Their superchargers are in every major hub you could possibly need across Europe. If you want to do a road trip, they're there. So immediately they're cheaper. It's not as cheap as charging at home, but it's a damn sight faster. And you even get destination chargers, and they don't cost a fortune. Nothing does. The charging infrastructure is there. Tesla have nailed that aspect of it. So you've got range, you've got a charging infrastructure almost wherever you go. So it means even if you need to go cross country and you're going to be going through a stretch where there isn't a lot of charge points, you don't have to worry, because there's plenty of range to get you through it, to get you to your destination charger, to get you to the next supercharger. And it is just, they have nailed it. Every other manufacturer relies on someone else's infrastructure. Tesla, don't worry. I mean, you can use someone else's infrastructure, you have to buy extra cables to do it. But they're saying, well, why use someone else's? Ours is cheaper, better, more reliable. And they're right, it is more reliable. The amount of times when I've had things like Nissan Leafs or Renault Zoes, I've gone to charge up at Podpoint, it's been an issue with it. I go to Ecotricity, it's down, or I can't connect to the server to authorise my charge. It happens so many times. Yet with this Tesla, every time I've gone to a charging station, every single one it's worked. It's connected really well, so I can see if there's a million people waiting to charge too. Really then, all I can say is that the Model 3 is definitely opening doors to people who wouldn't typically even consider an electric vehicle. Because even if you go for the low range, 250 miles, for the normal person, that's more than enough range. It really, really is. You're not going to worry about 250 miles. I mean, I know the Leaf claims it can get it, but it can't. This will say 250, and if you drive carefully, you will easily see 250 miles. This is game-changing for the industry, because people can afford it in any form. I mean, if you want performance, you were going to spend over 60 grand on an M3 anyway. If you don't, £38,000. I mean, it comes in at £480 a month or something like that. £480 a month for a vehicle which will save you money on anything and everything. You don't pay tax, you don't pay congestion. I mean, if you live in a city where there's congestion charges coming in, this will save you a small fortune a year. It's game changing because it's changing the interior quality. There's no leather in this vehicle, and technologically there's everything you could ever want on one screen. The audio is brilliant. Your rear seat amenities, well, there's USB sockets and door opening and window controls, and that's about it. No more than you get in any other type of vehicle. The vents are only at the front, but you precondition the vehicle before you get in, and it's exceptionally good at ensuring that the vehicle is at the temperature that you want via the app. I mean, even the app, you want to move the vehicle out of a parking space because someone's parked way too close to you. You press a button and you summon it forward. You can't find it in the car park, you press a button. You want to pre-plan going to a supercharger when you get back from shopping, you press a button. Everything is there. My only consideration is wondering what happens to the lithium batteries after 8 to 10 years of use, when they're no longer working at maximum capacity and people change them or whatever they do. Where do they go? How do they get changed? That is my only question when it comes to, and that's electric cars in general. But put up against the competition, even internal combustion engine competition, this walks all over them. This is an M3 killer, literally, and is as close to an internal combustion engine killer as you're going to get. For the price point, people can afford to get into it, and if they can afford to get into it, there's a very good chance they won't get out.